Hi everyone, welcome back. This week we're in the single tunnel, which I use for a mix of propagating. You can see behind me there I've got the tables with the mini caterpillar tunnel on for the start of our seed sowing 2025. And we also do some growing in here, so we've got 3 raised beds in here in the middle section that we grow some early stock in. Currently we've got tulips and ranunculus in the far bed there, and then we've got wallflowers and sweet peas in this middle bed, and this bed here we've got quite a mix in actually. So we've got anemones at the bottom, then we've got some nigella and some poppies and some snapdragons, and then finally at this end, which is what we're going to be looking at today, we've got our chrysanthemum stock plants. I leave our chrysanthemums in the ground as stock plants all year. I grow them in the tunnel because I know they're definitely going to survive, and today we're going to be taking cuttings from them because it's the perfect time to start our cuttings, and these cuttings will produce plants that will flower this year, so we can get quite a lot of cutting material off the plants as they currently are, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is how our chrysanths look at the minute. You can see that's last year's stems from the flowers, and this is what we're interested in, the green growth at the bottom. So firstly, I'm going to remove all the old wood from last year's flower stems. By removing these stems, we gain access to all this fresh green basal growth that's occurred already this season. Take a small sharp knife and cut down over into the soil, removing a stem. Sometimes you get lucky and get a little bit of root too. Aim to take cuttings of stem growth that's around 5 to 10 centimetres long. You need a couple of leaf joints on each stem for the best results with the cuttings. So once you've taken all your chrysanthemum cuttings, the key thing is that we've removed these from their roots, so they've got no access to moisture now, so we have to deal with them as quickly as possible. If you are struggling for time, or you think it might take you a little bit longer, I'd recommend you put these into a bag to stop moisture evaporating from them. And now I'll show you how to deal with the cuttings. Firstly, we need to use our knife to remove a few leaves from the stem. This will reveal the leaf joints, and this is where our stems are going to start rooting from. Also, by removing some of these leaves, it means our cuttings under less pressure for water, as we've removed some of its need by removing the leaves. Next, I make up a potting mix. This is 70% good peat-free compost mixed with 30% perlite. Perlite helps aerate the compost. It also prevents waterlogging and generally makes rooting easier. Then there's a couple of extra bits we need, 1 larger pot and 1 smaller pot. Here I'm using a 2 litre pot and a 10 centimetre pot. Begin with the larger of the 2 pots and fill the base of it with your potting mix. Then place the smaller container inside the larger container and begin to fill round the edge with more potting mix. Once you've reached the rim of the container, you can start to put your cuttings in. Always pre-poke a hole in, don't use the stem of the cutting to poke it directly into the compost, as you'll break or harm the stem. The reason that I use a pot inside a pot is that when you're taking cuttings, they tend to strike easier when placed around the edge of a container rather than in the centre where they're more likely to rot. It also means that if you want to check whether your cuttings have begun to root, you simply remove the central container and then you don't have to disturb your cuttings. Finally, don't forget to water them. I water them once now, and then I'll check them again in about 5 days to make sure the compost is still moist. And finally, I place my container under a storage box. There we go, first pot of our chrysanthemum cuttings, and I'm going to tuck that away in our storage container. It's going to remain in there for around 4 weeks. I'm going to keep taking that little pot out the middle and checking to see if they've rooted, and once they've rooted, those cuttings will be potted into 9cm pots and grow on in those pots until they develop roots, which will probably take around about another 4 weeks from the time we pot them on. And once they're fully rooted in that pot, then they're ready for planting out. Like I say, up here in North Yorkshire, where it's quite cold in this field, I choose to plant mine in the polytunnel. But if you're in warmer climates, then you will get away with having chrysanthemums outside, and they'll grow quite happily. Chrysanthemums always flower at the back end of the season, so it's quite a long burn with these guys. Don't expect to see flowers in June and July. They naturally flower towards the end of the season when the light level drops again. So that's one task we've been doing this week. Other tasks include, we have started sowing our hardiest of hardy annuals. So we've been sowing our Ami, our Dorcas, we've started on our Antirrhinums, our Agrostemma, our Cornflower, our Saponara, our Calendula. And then in another week's time, once they've been in the fridge for 2 weeks, we're going to get those cold germinator seeds out of the fridge that I showed you in the last video, and we'll begin to sow those. We've also started applying liquid seaweed to our perennial plug plants there. We're not fertilising outside at the minute. It's too early for those. We're just keeping these guys happy because they've been growing away now in those plug trays for 5 months. So they've overwintered. They're really good, strong, healthy plants. And now they just need a little bit of a boost until either I plant them out here in this field or they go out as plug plants to grow on for everyone else. So that's what we've been doing. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you're doing chrysanthemum cuttings, best of luck and enjoy yourself. If not, I'll see you next time. If you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. See you next week. Bye.